The following content is for information and entertainment purposes only. The opinions expressed in this episode are those of the participants and do not represent the views of any third-party entities. Welcome to episode 7 in the Flexibility Focus Minisode series. In this installment, I bring you an interview with Donavan Barrett, a martial arts and flexibility coach based out of Tampa, Florida. Donavan is without a doubt one of the best male kickers in the world, and despite popular misconceptions about being born super flexible, he got to that level through sheer hard work and commitment. I hope you enjoyed the discussion, and be sure to check out Donovan's accounts on Instagram and YouTube, to which I'll post links in the description box or captions on the respective platforms where I share this interview. So Donovan, welcome to the Flexibility Focus podcast. It's great to have you on here.
It's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you. So I've followed you for a while, and I know what you're capable of. And people who watch your channel will see that you're doing these crazy kicks. Can you tell the audience a bit about your training background and how you first got involved in martial arts?
Yeah, so I've been doing Taekwondo since I was only 7 years old. When I was younger, I was obsessed with being a ninja. I used to read books all about ninjas, and I would run around the house doing that. So for Christmas, my aunt actually got me Taekwondo lessons, and that was supposed to be like my ninja training lesson.
Right.
And it expanded from there, and I just kind of fell in love with it. And I started teaching when I was 14 years old because I just, I've always been a little bit, older than my age. And it's just been my life ever since.
Yeah. Talking about your flexibility in kicks, have you always been as flexible as you are now, or is it something that you've had to work at?
Definitely something I had to work out. When I was younger, I was never super stiff, but I couldn't do splits and whatnot. And then I worked to get them, and then I lost them again. And then I didn't start training flexibility again until I was 17 or 18, and much harder to. I would say it wasn't much harder, but it definitely took more work. It took more discipline to be able to do it. But that's when I really started getting into the proper training for flexibility, because if you do it wrong, you're just going to see next to no progress. It's one of those things where you're doing it right or you're doing it wrong, and doing it right will unlock the secrets faster than you think. And so I definitely had to work at it. I remember times when I would be stretching for I would just be so excited to stretch for 90 minutes because the dojang that I trained at had an after school program, and I was one of the instructors. So before class, I would just be taking every opportunity to work on kicks, work on dynamic and static exercises to expand my flexibility.
Great. And that's really interesting to hear as well, because you are one of the best kickers out there, especially for men. And I think what people tend to think of is they think men are naturally inflexible. So they might see somebody like yourself who can do these amazing kicks and the splits and be like, but you know what, you were born that way. It comes easy to you. But obviously, I've read many posts of yours where you said it didn't come naturally to you. So it's really good to hear that perspective.
Yeah, it really is. And you preach this all the time. It really is just having an understanding of stretching correctly. It's like any kind of exercise or anything in general that you do. If you do it wrong, you'll injure yourself. You'll not see progress. That's why, people say practice makes perfect, but I think, correct practice makes perfect,
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a good one. Looking on your website, you've got a program called Functional Flexibility. Can you tell us a bit more about your concept of functional flexibility for people who might not be familiar with that?
Yeah, so functional flexibility to me basically means that you're not a wet noodle. That's kind of the term I always use. I had a lot of students coming up who could go lower in splits than me and have these crazy hyper splits, but they had no strength. And, when they would kick, their leg would just kind of fly up there. And it was because of lack of, dynamic action, lack of, muscle building and stuff like that to combine with the static stretching. So to me, it's an accumulation of everything that I have not only learned and applied to myself, but what I teach to my students in person. And I wanted to be able to bring that knowledge to all of the awesome people that follow me and have been a part of my journey. And that was kind of my way of doing that. So I kind of break it down. We're two sides of the same coin. I kind of take it and I bring it into an easy to understand, step by step. I like to use a lot of metaphors and like kind of visual kind of things to help people really understand. And yeah, people are loving it. It's helped a lot of people, and I'm really grateful that something I've made has helped a lot of people see progress they've been looking for like ever.
And that's it. For me, I always say to people, the proof is in the pudding, because I think what our industry suffers from is you get a lot of people who are naturally like hypermobile. So flexibility comes easy to them. They don't have to work at it, and they put out a program which is essentially the stretches that they like to do, and they will say, this is what I did to get flexible. If you follow it too, you'll get the same. And that's really not the case. And what your program, the reviews that you get for your program are, there's people making progress in weeks. And I think that's what people need to understand, is that flexibility, progress comes quickly if you do it correctly.
If you do it right. And that's what was really important to me, because like you said, people see me and they're like, oh, but he's just him. You know what I mean? And that's why it was really important when I created this course. I really wanted to get that instant feedback as much as possible, because I knew that it worked. I was fully confident because I applied it to people in person. Yeah. But it was really exciting when the testimonials started to roll in as the success of the course started to increase, so that people can see like, hey, this is just a person that started just like you. And it's been really cool because a lot of the testimonials have come from different genders, different age ranges and whatnot. So I'm really grateful for that. And I'm actually really excited for your flexibility book that you're working on, because I cannot wait to like dive into the more of the scientific terms and like, really look into the research. I absolutely love looking at your posts, because I'm like, oh, there's like the evidence, that supports what I'm saying.
Absolutely. That's great. And like I say, this is one of the reasons I'm getting you and other coaches to come on here, because, I've coached people for years myself, but I think there are people out there doing the actual hands-on coaching better than what I do. And my specialty is the research and the evidence. And I think it's by coming together and collaborating, the public is just getting a much better deal.
People seem to love your podcast. I see all the people sharing it and whatnot. It's really cool. It's really cool to see.
Awesome. Yeah. So hopefully that book will be out soon. So we'll see what the reaction is. But if you've got someone who's looking to become flexible and they've never stretched a day in their life, what's one piece of advice that you would give to them?
Honestly, like general brain advice, mental advice to me would be just get started and just start moving your body. That's always the thing. If you don't get in the habit of, going into the room every day and dedicating time to this type of training, you will never see progress. But my more, practical advice, like targeted towards flexibility development, move and, move with dynamic, stretch with static, move with dynamic, and go back and forth. Like there's nothing wrong with this, but I personally don't do like 20 minutes of dynamic and then 20 minutes of static. I'll do 5 minutes dynamic, 5 minutes static, 5 minutes, just going back and forth, because you're just getting that constant repetition and then expanding that range of motion with your static stretching and then applying it with the dynamic stuff.
Yeah. I mean, that's actually a really good strategy, and bit of a research bomb here, but in the research, they call it cyclical stretching or cycle stretching, where you're going from static to dynamic, static to dynamic, and it's shown really, really good progress with that. So that's a bit of a gem there. That's brilliant.
It makes it a lot more fun too, because one of the criticisms I hear of flexibility training is that it's boring, and I'm like, well, that's how I know you're not doing it right.
Exactly.
Because
right.
If you're doing it right, it's not just flexibility. You're getting some cardio in there sometimes. You're building strength. It's definitely can be as fun as you make it.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So, who are some of the people who have inspired you in your martial arts and flexibility coaching career?
Honestly, I take a lot of inspiration from fictional characters. Like Chun-Li from Street Fighter was like one of my main heroes growing up. In the actual martial arts world, the person that I think kind of made me see a broader outlook on martial arts training is Chloe Bruce, because I was probably 17, 18, and someone showed me a video of hers, and I was like, oh, this is so much more exciting than like the normal kick the paddles, like get the bag, whatnot. Like you can really like move your leg like that. That's possible. And that really kind of got me studying about flexibility. And, I have to give her credit that, without seeing that, I may not be where I am today.
Yeah, yeah. And Chloe's an interesting case as well because she'll tell you herself that, again, she's one of these people, the audience will look at her and say, oh, she's naturally flexible. She's got crazy loose joints. But again, she had to work really hard in her early
Yeah.
stages of training to get what she's got now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love Chloe's stuff. Some of her musical forms are absolutely off the
Oh,
chart.
they're so pretty.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, so as a prominent member of the LGBT community, I know you probably get more haters than a non-LGBT person like myself would get. In fact, I've seen some of the comments that you get, and I can't believe people are still putting out hate like that. But to people who are watching or listening who also identify as LGBT and are afraid of starting their own social media channel because they're worried about potential haters, what's some advice you could give them to help overcome that and move forward with what they want to do?
I feel okay, so I feel very qualified because I am not someone, I don't have the personality where, oh, I just don't care what people think of me. I think all humans, even if they don't like to admit it, care what their peers say about them. For me, it was really hard because I had no blueprint, at least from what I know, I didn't see anybody on YouTube that was, or social media in general, that was a martial artist, that was in the LGBTQ community and was, out here doing the thing and building an audience. For me, it just came down to the fact that before I even came out to the world, I was already receiving hate. And I was just like, well, I'm already getting crap. I might as well live my truth. And it was honestly it was really scary. I was really worried that like I would never be able to make it in this time because I had never seen anything like this before. But it turns out that there are so many more of us in this community than people realize, but they're silenced because, they're afraid and whatnot, and they don't have the audience and whatnot to really own that platform. So for me, I think the thing that I would tell people is you're not alone. You have a community. Like everything that I do puts my community, puts everybody, but especially like, my community in mind. Like any platform I create there's always the message of everybody is welcome here. Like you're always welcome here. And that's just what I always try to invoke. And if you need any help, I'm very responsive to DMs on Instagram and stuff like that, especially when it comes to things like that. So if you need like a lending ear, I always offer that as well.
Yeah, that's awesome advice. Yeah, brilliant. As a person from a mixed background, do you think that the recent events that have taken place in the United States and elsewhere, do you think this is a start of a real shift towards a more equal society?
I mean, change is already being made. I've seen a lot of companies and a lot of people who have kind of not been, hateful towards people, but they've just been kind of ignoring the problem because it didn't really apply to them and you only know what you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I think at the very least, this has woken a lot of people up and you can't ignore it anymore. Like the people who are kind of pretending it didn't exist because they didn't want to go there,
Yeah.
you can't do that anymore because it's here. Like it's in your face and you have to deal with it. And it's been really great to see. I've seen a lot of great allyship. I've seen a lot of great, organizations started. There's been change is already being made in different states and whatnot regarding this issue. There's a long way to go, but I do think that real change will come out of this. And the thing that inspires me the most about this whole thing is just showing that human beings still can change things, because I think we've been kind of not brainwashed, that's kind of dramatic, but kind of,
Yeah.
to believe that we're helpless, to believe that one person can't do anything, to believe that we don't have the power to change anything in this massive system that's bigger than us. And this, I think, at the very least, disproves that.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel the same way. I really do. And, I've certainly felt a lot more educated on the subject since this whole thing's gone down. And I think it's only for the best, really.
Yeah.
If you were stranded on a desert island and you could only take one book, one piece of gym kit, and one type of food or drink with you, what would you take?
One book. Okay, so my book would be Crush It by Gary Vee.
Mm-hmm.
I love Gary Vee. The thing I love about Gary Vee is he's kind of like me. He gives you principles. He doesn't go super in detail, but he gives you the principle and gives it to you in a way that you will understand. And I'm someone who responds to tough love, and he's very tough love. So I love that. Okay, so you said a book, and then what else?
A piece of gym equipment.
A piece of gym equipment. Definitely a resistance band, because I love resistance bands for like kick training and whatnot. I'm a personal believer that all you need is yourself, your body, and some floor, and you're good. But that's my one piece of equipment that I love. and then I can't remember things for more than
And
3
one type of food or unlimited amounts, but one type of food or drink.
Oh, easy. Coffee.
Absolutely. I've got mine here as well. uh, Before we finish, Donovan, can you just tell the audience where they can find you online?
Yeah, so you can follow me personally. I'm Donavan Barrett on all platforms, youtube.com/Donavan Barrett. My Instagram is Donavan Barrett. But if you want more like targeted advice for like martial arts and flexibility, I do have an Instagram account dedicated towards like specific tutorials and graphics and which you can find at Donovan's Dojang.
Brilliant. That's awesome. Donovan, honestly, I appreciate your time. I've been wanting to get in touch with you for a while because I've been following your material for a long time. And it's a pleasure to actually see you face to face and have this chat. So thank you for your time. It's been awesome.
I'm grateful to be here. I was actually really looking forward to this all week. So it's awesome to be here and meet you.
Awesome. We'll have to do it again sometime, hopefully.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, Donovan, take care of yourself.
You too.
All right.